up because I think Pamela is supposed to introduce us. Are you?
I'm just going to do a couple of real quick housekeeping things, and then I'll kind of be quiet after that so that you guys can chat, because you're some of the loveliest humans I know, and I just want to hear you talk. But just housekeeping, thank you everyone who's decided to join us this afternoon for this amazing author chat with Amy King and Paul Griffin. My name is Pamela Edholm. I am a middle school librarian here north of the Buffalo area. And I'm a former TBF committee member, but I am actually hoping to be a TBF committee member again soon. So now that we've all mastered how to do this virtual meeting stuff, I think I'm going to be back on the committee. So let me introduce our authors. We have with us today, thank you so much for joining us, Paul Griffin. Is there anything that this man cannot do? After graduating from Dartmouth College with a BA in film studies, he found his way into working as a butler, cook, EMT, dog trainer, construction worker, and tutor, amongst other things. He's even washed dishes with Vin Diesel. He's the writer of many middle grade and young adult books that range from the adventurous to the emotional. And he also works with organizations such as Literacy for Incarcerated Teens and Behind the Book. He lives with his humans and animals in New York City. Thank you so much for coming here today and being with us, Paul.
Thank you, Pamela.
And we also have with us Amy, Amy King, which
known as the Angel.
Her books, if you read her young adult books, she's A.S. King, but you can call her Amy on this chat. Yeah. So try to put her Amy in a box and she'll fight you, unless that box is filled with tacos, maybe. As the author of numerous prize-winning, mind-bending, and heart-wrenching novels for young adults, she also writes for middle grade and even adults. She teaches other humans how to write for children and young adults at the Vermont College of Fine Arts. She misses traveling to visit all of you amazing people at your schools and library events and looks forward to an eventual return to those shenanigans. But for now, she comes to us from the heart of rural Pennsylvania, surrounded by a rainbow of Post-it notes and her loved ones. Thank you again for joining us today, Amy. And I'm going to shut up now.
How did you know that? Were you in my office, Pamela, or did I write that for you? I don't even know if I wrote that, but you should see the Post-it notes. Like it's bonkers. And I mean, even just from today, like these are from today.
You showed them last night when you were on the thing.
Oh, those Post-it notes.
Yeah.
Yes, those are different than these. And then there's some over there, and then there's some over there.
Give us some good ones, Amy.
All right. I'll give you one. I got okay, awesome. I got from Greg Neary. When you're working on a book for a long time and it's just overwhelming and it's too long, let everything go, throw everything away. The good stuff will stay in your brain. True story. That's helpful for this graphic memoir that I've been lugging around with me for about five to 10 years. And then there's a really Namina Forna. Whoa, what a brain. Embracing anger leads to compassion. I'd asked her about something Nick Stone said to me earlier this week. That was a beauty. And just the grief panel I just came out of, or I shouldn't say the grief panel, the panel about writing about grief there's a lot in there. Actually, Kenya, hold on. I don't even know who it was anymore because I was on Twitter for 2 seconds, but somebody was tweeting it and I retweeted a few things, but like just the idea that you don't have to write during grief and, you know, like all this stuff, just really great stuff and how humor helps. And, oh yeah, we talked a lot about the patriarchy. I don't know, that's mostly curse words. So just think of all the curse words you got. There you go. That was important. But yeah, that women, and then in Namina's case, I would say a Black woman and also an immigrant, but that we're always living in spaces that aren't meant for us.
Wow.
Beautiful quote. I really liked that.
I got Rocky Callan before said, "You're allowed to be joyous and sad at the same time."
True story.
That was pretty good.
Yes, ma'am.
Very wise.
Yeah, Rocky is the bomb diggity. Jennifer, that's interesting. I will say, any readers that are looking at that comment, All the Bright Places is a very good novel, but when it comes to mental health, talk to me after or before you read it. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so hi guys. Hey Paul, what are we talking about today? Are we going to talk about how you're made of light? How you're made of pure light?
Well, you know, I was just on an Amy King kick, you know,
Oh yeah.
because I knew we were going to be talking. So I started rereading some of my favorite stuff, and I sent you this morning that text with that little section. Can I read that? Because I'll tell you why I want to read it. Because Alex, who is volunteering today, this is his first time at TBF.
First time.
He's in 10th grade and he likes to read, and he likes generally fantasy. And I think that Still Life with Tornado, I have a feeling that Alex would be really turned on by the way you allow us to think of ourselves as different people at different ages, and that these people are part of the continuum, right? That makes up our life. We're not the same people we were when we're 5, 10, 15. And that's kind of an awesome thing, but also a little bit terrifying, right? So if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to read that paragraph, because maybe that could get us talking, and maybe some folks can jump in and, you know.
All right, Paul, I'm not going to stop you. I'll read it for you too, if you want to hear it in my voice.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Get out. What page is it?
125. And it's third paragraph. I stop outside of City Hall.
Oh yeah, there it is. All right. I stop outside of City Hall and pull out a piece of sidewalk chalk. I draw an enormous tornado, swirls and swirls of dust and debris. I walk three big steps at the top of the tornado. It's 10 feet wide at the top. The only color chalk I have is sky blue, and it's a sky blue tornado. And inside the tornado is everything that ever mattered to me, and everything that ever mattered to you, and every tourist, and every Liberty Bell, and every hot dog with mustard, and every cheesesteak, and every song I ever sang, and every pigeon that ever cooed. They are all inside my tornado. I don't notice anyone watching me. No one stops to care. No one asks me to stop. But if they did, I probably wouldn't hear them anyway, because I am still deaf to everyone except art that doesn't matter. This tornado doesn't matter, not even with the skin from my index finger knuckle in it, not even with the sweat that dripped from my nose. Then I turn around, City Hall at my back, and face the art museum down at the other end of the parkway, and I yodel the best yodel I can, as loud as I can. I sound like a bad imitation of Tarzan. If yodeling is art, I suck at it. I take my sucky yodel, put it inside my sky blue tornado, and start walking home. I can smell myself. I am so many days old. I can smell more than just my sweat. I can smell my own 5-day-old dirt. Dirt is art.
Amazing.
It's weird, man. That's actually that's an Easter egg to another TBFer. That yodeling, that's an Easter egg to Andrew Smith.
Really?
Oh yeah, we had to think about yodeling for years.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you read it. To just because I was trying to think how it was going through your mind, and it's almost it's a fever dream, right? Like this oh, my vocabulary is horrible.
It's a long day, brother. It's a long day.
No, it doesn't matter what time it is of the day. I'm always I can't remember anything. But I just feel like, I don't know, Ames. It's when you're reading, when folks read you, you really just go on a ride. You're taken into a world, and you're on a journey. And I don't know. I would just love to see what Alex thought of that. Like the skin from your knuckle, like being in the tornado. You know, just these things that you notice that when we read them, we say, wow, these are the important things in life. These are the things that are often overlooked, but that's what you do, Amy. You rescue things that are important in life for the rest of us, and you bring them to us, and we're all really lucky for that. We're better people for it.
Oh, man, Paul. All right. So this is like making me cry before 4 p.m. No, it's not going to happen. But thank you. Well, and I want to rescue people, because, I mean, it's funny when you look at Still Life with Tornado. I mean, the tornado was mine, and I finally have just escaped it. And the reason I wrote this book, you know how many people read this? They'd be like, oh, you write for teens. They're like, you know how many letters I get from this book? I get letters from teens. Oh, yeah, I do. But I got mostly letters from women, grown women who go, I'm leaving my husband now. Thank you so much. And I've sat there for years, since 2016, going, oh, they can. Why am I not doing that? Because they're like, I know I'm in an abusive relationship, and I knew it too. It just was a complicated time. But I'm finally out of mine now. So when I think about the skin from my index finger, it's still in there. And but it's sort of like, I don't know, it's like Eye of Newt or something. You leave a little bit of your own DNA inside your tornado. That was kind of a weird, deep thing to say that I don't know what it even meant. And that's what happens when I write books. I don't even know what they mean. But yeah, you know, the idea for this book was like, she's an artist and she feels she can't make art anymore. Boy, have I been there, you know? And I think that a little bit like what Greg said this morning, like, you know, throw out all the other stuff and see what comes, see what bubbles up, see what's left in your brain, you know? So
the whole idea of you saying in there, it says that this is art that doesn't matter, right? Like how often do we feel that when we're going through life, like whatever our art is, whether you're working on the overnight shift on the dock, right? And like you're really good at that gig, and you wonder what it means to really care about it, to care about doing a job well. And does it mean anything? Well, you think it doesn't mean anything, but in the end, it's really the biggest thing. It's the most meaningful thing.
It is. It is, and enjoying it and enjoying the skill you have, no matter what it is you're doing. Like I loved delivering pizza. I also loved running the Arby's drive-through. I thought that was a buzz. And like if I could get through a night where everybody got their food at the right time and everything was cool, and it was a well-oiled machine, I felt amazing. Same as like cleaning out the back room in my basement like 2 months ago. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, and then I did it, and it's just like, you know, achieving anything. Is you know, we need to appreciate that. We need to actually stop and pat ourselves in the back a lot. And it's kind of interesting when I think about teenagers. I was just saying this in the last panel, you know, this culture encourages bullying of teenagers. It's just built in. And we well, I mean, we put down young adult literature. We put down young adult this. I'm sure in the library world, and you know, there's librarians here, and maybe they can nod at me later, but they're like, oh, you're a children's librarian. Like, you know, like that's kind of how it always is. Oh, Justin Bieber, although that totally dates me. So we can say, ooh, K-pop, or ooh, Billie Eilish, she's so weird, or whatever it is adults are constantly saying about things teens like, especially teen girls, but teen boys too, but especially teen girls. We're just constantly encouraged to bully. And make them small, and make them feel small, make them feel, yeah, and they already feel small enough. You know, they don't need that. But you know, to encourage, I don't know, to encourage young people to think outside of the box and to think inside their own tornadoes, so that they can go, oh yeah, I get to get out of here soon. And I want to recognize, I don't know, I want to recognize that this is the reality I've been living in, or you know, just sort of be honest, instead of having to push it down, because that's the other thing everybody's telling teenagers to do, to ignore everything, ignore your trauma, ignore this, even if especially if I'm giving it to you. If I'm giving you trauma, it's not happening. It's like you're gaslighting them from the minute they're born. It's insane. But
suck it up, right? Just suck it up.
Suck it up, get over it. And what we really do, and you guys, I mean, guys are constantly told, this is what you guys have been told since the beginning, get over it, suck it up, you know, whatever. And that to me is so interesting, because you're really just missing an enormous part of the machine. The cogs, all the cogs have to be, you know, touched when a machine's working. They all have to be working. And if you're saying, no, suck it up when you're negative emotions, right? And this is something that happened in my marriage. I wasn't allowed to have any negative emotions, period. Couldn't cry, couldn't be angry, couldn't be anything that was considered negative. So you're sad, suck it up. That means you're skipping a vital cog. You pull that cog out of the machine, the rest of the machine doesn't work as well. And then you get into life, and what kind of person are you going to be? What kind of partner, what kind of father, what kind of, you know, all these things. What kind of person are you really going to be if you're going to skip those cogs? If you're going to, and what I find a lot of times is that it leaves these gaps in the mind, and the gaps in understanding, so that, and in growth, right? We're not growing then. You can't grow if you skip those cogs. If you decide, I know this I did, and I know these things for sure, right there, you're kind of screwed. Like, I'm 51 years old. I don't know shit for sure. I don't know shit for sure. You can change my mind in the morning about a few things. There's a few things you can't change my mind about, but I won't. I always have an open mind, because like this idea of, I want this and I want this for, even if they want it for you, I want this for you. Well, fuck. Did you ask me first? Like, you know, like, let's have a conversation about that first. But it's just sort of, I don't know. I just went off on one. Paul, let's talk about you.
No, because, you know, when you were talking about bullying, yeah. Let's talk about everybody sees the ants. All right. Okay. Let's talk about how do you how do you really set yourself free from being bullied? Because truly, it is, you are a captive when you're being bullied, right?
You're a prisoner, absolutely.
And how do you get free of that? Because let's be honest, people don't stop bullying, right?
Oh no, they don't stop bullying at teenage years either. You get bullied. I got bullied by my library. I was on a library board a few years ago. I was getting bullied by the president. I'm there taking notes. I'm like, you really think you're going to bully me? I'm like 48 years old. And she's like, you're going to come next time, next meeting, aren't you? Even though I moved from the town. I was like, sure, I'll be secretary. And the next time, the best part is I got to write minutes. So I wrote the minutes. And I'm like, new business, find a new secretary. So, so the next meeting, it was a real like, and I'd already complained and I already explained it to her, but bullying continues to happen. It's just how it is. How do you set yourself free from it?
Yeah. What's the answer?
Well, I guess you got to understand, we got to look at what's said to you, right? You got to look at what's said to you, and you got to figure out that it's weird. We have such an interesting dialogue around bullying. We always say, oh, it's the same as boys who don't understand, young boys, especially who don't understand consent. Oh, he came up and kissed me. Oh, or he's mean to me. It's because he likes you. Oh, bite me. If you then teach him how to like somebody. You didn't teach him that.
Right.
You taught him how to bully a girl he liked. That's some bullshit. So, that messaging is pretty crappy. And that's the thing, that they're given such weird messaging. But bullies, yeah, they're usually acting out of insecurity, and that's great, boohoo for them. But I don't care about them. I care about people who are bullied. So how do you get out of it? Find a thing you love and keep doing it.
Yeah, right.
Reach out, find a thing you love and keep doing it. But most of all, I think with Everybody Sees the Ants, you got a kid who can't. And he's got enough going on at home. He doesn't really think that there are trustworthy adults out there. I'd like to say there are trustworthy adults out there. And I know that Paul, and you can reach out to me and Paul any day you want. So if you need a trusted adult,
Amy, but go ahead.
I'll refer you to Paul. But but you can reach out to us. You can reach out to. There are people out there that that teacher is cool. They're cool, and you can talk to them. But find something you love and do it. I was bullied pretty badly. And I found something I loved. What?
Why is that though? Why? I was bullied too, but why did we get bullied? I had a thing. I was working on the ambulance one time, and I got a call from another ambulance, and they said, hey, I need a hand. I got 2 patients. It happened in the subway. And it was an attack, a chemical attack. This guy was looking at the subway map, and somebody tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around, and the attacker sprayed him in the eyes. And he screamed, and when he screamed, the attacker sprayed him in the mouth. And the attacker got away. And the thing with chemical attack, it's a nightmare, because you have to mummify the person. You have to wrap them in a sheet, and you're dripping saline, and you can't get the stuff on you, right? Because then you start spreading it around the ambulance. And to make it worse, we got stuck in traffic. It was a Friday afternoon. It was rush hour, and I was with this poor guy in the ambulance for, it had to be half an hour, and this poor guy was suffering. His eyes were burning, his throat was burning, and he kept saying to me, "It's my fault. It's my fault." And I said, "No, sir, please. On behalf of my city, I'm so sorry. We're not like this. It was just a random thing. It was just in no way your fault." And he said, "No. He smelled the weak on me. He smelled the weak on me." Wow, Paul. That just was so sad to me. But I kind of felt what he meant. I feel like the times that, just quick story was this guy, he's walking this way, city street, he's walking this way, and he calls me that 6-letter F word, And I keep walking, whatever. Of course, somebody taps me on the shoulder, and you never turn around and look this way, right? You particularly never look over your left shoulder, by the way. And I turned the other way, and his friend was there. And the last thing I saw was his fist, and he knocked me unconscious. And I think about that a lot, like just that time that I got knocked out. And I think about the only thing that really allows me to move on from that is I just feel so bad for that guy who hit me, because he's got to wake up every day and be that guy, you know.
Yes.
And that doesn't go away, that kind of destruction. Like, how do you get rid of that? And I mean, you can treat it, you can try to you know, redirect it, but it's always going to be there. And I don't know, I feel like that, for me, I have to do that. And it's the hardest thing to do because it's enraging, right?
Yeah.
These people are so destructive. And
yeah,
so,
I mean, it's funny now when I think back to my earliest bullying. It's actually in the anthology Dear Bully, and I shouldn't say the earliest. That's not true. Way earlier than that, I was bullied. But the one that really should have knocked me back, and probably did make me very, very open to an abusive relationship. Though, I mean, I had that coming from sort of my experience with my siblings and things like this. But was everybody, I had, you know, short hair, played basketball, took shop, was very tall, and was very loudmouth. And so instead of smelling the weak, I'm a woman. You smell the strong, I'm a prize. I'm a piece of candy. If you can get her down under your foot, well, then you're good. If you can get her to be, you know, to feel small because she's too big. Women who have opinions, there are bullies out there that love to take us down, especially male bullies. But yeah, I mean, I was grabbed every day, and it was the same thing. They call me, you know, they call me a dyke, and they grope me. I mean, if I think now, and I've said it on stages with students, if somebody walked up to me right now on the stage and grabbed me the way those boys used to grab me every single day, they'd be arrested. You know, like that's like total, you're not allowed to do that. And it's assault every day. Anytime I was anywhere near my locker, I had, you know, an eye in the back of my head, and I could never avoid it. And I never told anybody though. And that was because of the shame. And that was because, what was I going to do? And here's the other thing. If I what would they would have told me? I'll get over it. It's just boys being boys. Or when all those answers I would have gotten. And so I love, though, I wish I knew it earlier, that they don't change, which is a shame. I wish they could. I mean, I know when it comes to like actual abusive mindset, like that toxic masculinity, that abusive mindset, only about 4% of abusive men change. And that's in the best abuser program in the country up in Boston. He's only got a 4% success rate. So it's a pretty strong bleach. The old toxic masculinity is some pretty strong bleach on the brain. But you're right, man. You know, I feel the same way. Like, I feel very sorry for people who are really going to lose so much in their life because they cannot get over whatever it is. They cannot clear that thing and find themselves and find compassion for themselves and therefore other people inside of it. So that's how I came out of it. I don't know how like when I think about the shame and stuff that I carried in school, I don't know what I would say to young people other than, yeah, find that thing you like to do. And you know what I did? I started journaling at age 15. And that ended up, you know, I knew I was going to, I think I knew I was going to be a writer, even though people were telling me I couldn't be a writer. Right. But I think that's what I ended up doing. And now, you know, it's kind of interesting going to my 30th class reunion. Or now suddenly there are people like, you know, I get friend requests from people who used to bully me. Although one of them, I will tell you this story. This is a success story. I put out, it was right before copy edits were last chance to change Please Ignore Vera Dietz. So pretty early, right? I had my 20th school reunion that year. And I went, whatever. And for some reason, Facebook had just been born. And I had like been on Facebook for like business. And that was cool because we moved from MySpace, came to Facebook, whatever. I'm not a fan of any of it, to be honest. And I'm glad you're not on it because you are saving years of your life, my brother. But I was there. And then suddenly after the reunion, people that knew me since I was 7 were trying to friend me. And I'm like, this is too many, these things don't match. I want to promote, not look like a jerk to my, you know, it's all too confusing. Anyway, I said, yes, whatever. And then this one came in to some of my friends. And this one came in from this girl who bullied me hardcore, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, hardcore. every day threatened to beat me up. And I'd named Jenny Flick in Please Ignore Vera Dietz. Her name was originally Julie Flick, and that Julie was a nod to this girl. So I was like, oh man, why is she even sending me a friend? Like, what is this about? Like, because I didn't have a book. I had one book out at that time. It wasn't like anybody thought I was Miss Thing or anything. And I left it sit for a few days, and I thought, what the hell? And I said yes. And I kid you not, within 30 seconds, there was a message inside my inbox with the most beautiful apology I have ever read.
Amazing.
That many years, like 25 years later, from her like her peak bullying, and just said, look, I know I was an asshole in school, and I know I treated you poorly, and I know I bullied you, and I'm really sorry. And I was like, what is this? I've never seen adults be like this before. Right. And since then I have seen a good few adults be like that. I've also seen adults still act like the same jerks that they can be. But
what was the trigger for her? What flipped the switch? Did she tell you?
She'd been through a lot. She had a hard childhood, and she'd come to terms with it. So she did face some stuff, and I think that our culture, again, encourages women to do this more than they encourages men to do this, which is sad. And I think that's why the world needs feminism. It's such a shame that people think feminism is only for women. Feminism is 100% for men. It moves us.
Armando, right? We all need to be feminists, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
I think, the thing that I tell particularly my young men, the young men that I work with is, even when you're, I'm not saying like, when you're being bullied, go ask for more. That's not what forgiveness is, right? If you take your forgiveness to your bully, that is going to enrage your bully. That's the last thing that your bully wants, right? He doesn't want your compassion, but you don't do it for him. I mean, you put out the good vibe for him and let it rest, but just, you got to detach from him in whatever way you can, right?
Yep.
It's for you. It's for you to be able to become like in still life, right? To become that person that you dream of becoming, right? That person who is, I don't want to say bulletproof, but able to manage.
We can absorb the bullets and use them and digest them. So the bullets are going to come. You're vulnerable is what you are. So not bulletproof, but the opposite. Vulnerable, right? It's like, I don't know what Kevlar does. I don't know if it bounces off or if it absorbs, but I think it's an absorption. And that's the point. It's like people can throw things at me that are horrible, and people still do. And my job is to go, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to digest that, and it'll come out in a book.
Right.
I'll make art out of it.
And all the bad people will be named Julie.
No, I had to change it to Jenny. She was so sweet. I actually went to them. I'm like, can you change the name of this character? And they were like, sure, weirdo. But I just
Julie. That's awesome. Happy to hear that.
Yeah.
What do we got?
I don't know. We're at 3:32, and there's definitely some questions here, but a lot of them
take over, Amy. I didn't mean to interview you. I was just, anytime I get to talk with you, I'm looking in the chat. And Pamela, did you want us to talk about anything in particular? Or?
Yeah, Pamela, I want to know what you want us to talk about as well.
I mean, I wrote questions because I didn't know how this was going to go. Then I was like, oh, it's Paul and Amy. They're just going to talk and it's going to be awesome, which it has been. And I want to thank you so much for just being so vulnerable and open and honest about everything that you guys have experienced and how you put so much of your heart into your writing. And I think that your readers really feel that, and they're very deeply affected by your stories. And this is a question that I wrote, and then I'll go to some of the ones that came up in the chat. Do you ever get emotional during your writing process? Like, does it ever become like a 3-box of tissue manuscript or that kind of thing?
Paul, talk to me. No, you go.
Well, it depends on, so I'm an alcoholic, right? So when I think it's as dangerous as drinking and driving is drinking and writing, right? Mm-hmm. Because you get caught on this this energy that is I would say you become a little too egocentric when you're lit, you know. And I think that's not probably the best place to be writing from. You know, you want to be other centered when you're writing. You know, everything was doing with Ellen before Ellen Hopkins, and we were kind of talking about, you know, the question was, how do you avoid your fiction becoming autobiography? And the thing is, you don't. It's all autobiography, right? And Aim, we were talking last time, a couple of weeks ago, about how it's not only autobiography, it's a clown car of autobiography.
I have it right here. Look, it's a clown car right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You said that on the 30th of April, just letting you know, in case you wanted to know.
It's just these people they're talking, you know, and you really got to listen. Yeah. So I think that if you listen and you're really paying attention to what these people are saying to you and talking about all the stuff that's happening in your head, right? You got to be really sober-minded. And I find that becoming emotional while I'm doing the work is not a good idea. And then of course, when I finish it, I can't even read it. So I get emotional when I read Amy's books. You know, that's when I allow myself to become emotional, because it's really important. You know, I think particularly for men to really surrender to the beauty in things the beauty in being vulnerable, you know. And I think that's why I read mostly women. You know, I just feel like I just connect with women writers more than I connect with men writers.
Oh, Paul, you just handed me like a diner breakfast. I read mostly men. What's up with that? And I usually do.
Great.
What?
It's great.
It's weird. That's weird. I read mostly men, like, and I'm trying to figure out why. And I mean, I do read women, but like, it's weird, and I don't know why.
I think women write men better than men. Like Cole Booth.
Oh, Booth.
You will not find a more accurate characterization of a 16-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Tyrell is that you're reading it and you feel like you're speaking it because it's
Nick
just the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paul.
No. Please. I hope to be interrupted. I hope to be saved. You know?
So do I cry? I'm going to answer that question now. I don't do any substances daytime at all, and my emotions I tend to be, I don't know, and I'm not a big crier because I wasn't allowed to cry, right? For 30 years that was illegal, which made, you know, grieving my daughter pretty rough and difficult, which is, you know, now finally hitting me, which is awesome. Let's say it's only hitting me now, but you know yourself, I'm able to do it normally. But yes, actually, Pamela, I was writing, see what happens is the clown car. So there's my characters, right? And they're telling me, come this way. I mean, I'm like, sure, whatever. Keep telling me the stuff you're telling me. Don't shut up. Let's do it. And everything's going great. And because I'm a pantser, I don't plot. I don't do any of that. So I'm like, so I'll use Everybody Sees the Ants as an example, right? And without a spoiler, but I'm there and I'm writing, and Lucky Linderman's pretty interesting, and everything's going great. And then he reveals a secret to me on like page, I don't know, 150 or 170 or something like this. And I remember it was this same keyboard. I remember pushing myself out from the desk and going, no, and then pulling myself in toward the desk again and reading it and going, oh my God. And so he revealed the secret to me and I just lost it. I sobbed my eyes out, went upstairs, paced around, said a bunch of incoherent crap, went back downstairs. That was when I worked in a basement infested with snakes and mice. I thought they'd cancel each other out. They did not. The Nature Channel lied to me. So, but I never like a long one, you know, although I crawl through it. The end of that, I can't read that without just like soaking my shirt. So both of those books make me cry at the end. I don't read my books after they're written though, same as Paul, and apparently same as Greg. And I think a lot of authors do that. But when I've had to, or when I revisit them, or even on revision, yeah, I can get pretty, not sad, but just vulnerable and cry for sure. So yeah, and then Lee actually asked at the bottom, are your books as therapeutic for you as they are for readers? And so I'll answer first and then bounce it back to you, Paul, because I know you get a lot of feedback as well. But yeah, mine certainly are. People always ask me this real condescending question. It's not condescending to me. It's that bullying teens thing that's built into the culture. They'll say, do you have to go back to things that happened when you were a teen? Like, what's it like to dive back into experiences when you were younger? I'm like, when I was younger, what are you, crazy? Like, I'm writing a middle grade book right now, and like at the center of it is a conversation that was had with my ex-husband where I said, hey, did anybody see my mug from the year I won the Los Angeles Times Book Prize? It's really, like, where's that mug? I smashed it.
Oh my God.
Oh, like, you mean like in the dishwasher? Like, no, I smashed it on purpose. Well, okay then. Well, like, I just left the conversation go. I'll never get the mug back. And just sort of be like, okay, you know, and so I go back to writing, and there I am. Like, I'm like, there's my notes for the book. I can't figure out this dad. I don't know what he's really like. Oh, I know what he's like now, but I didn't know that until I sat down and my finger started writing. I'm like, it turns out he just smashed somebody's really important mug. And it was just like, oh, this is where this is going to come out. And so technically, I mean, look at Still Life with Tornado. I mean, that's me. And I'm not Umbrella, you know, but I wanted to see it from my children's point of view as well, you know. So yes, very therapeutic every time, but not like therapy, more just sort of like accidentally getting stuff out, working through life. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago when, you know, I as a kid, I used to think I was writing to escape, but really it was to confront, right? Like just why. I think it's more like, I think I do it just to try to get answers to things that I can't figure out at the speed of life. I need to really slow it down 10 times more slowly, just to really look at what's happening. I'm not quick, and I get a lot out of things. Like even when I speak with someone who is, like when you talk with Amy, I mean, you can really see, like even in this little video box now, just watch Amy when she's listening to somebody, right? She really, really listens, and that's very rare. That's what an artist does, and she doesn't have to be a writer. She doesn't have to be, you know, a singer. Her art is just living beautifully and generously, right? So, I think that when I can slow it down in the writing, I can listen a lot more, and that gives me comfort. That I don't know if that's therapy, but or if that's therapeutic, but it's comforting. It's comforting to try to figure out why I feel frightened or why I feel hope, you know, by things that just seem so mundane, you know?
Yeah, man. I get that.
I don't want to interrupt this beautiful conversation, but we are running out of time, unfortunately, for this session. We have just about 3 minutes left. And I do want to thank you both for being so honest and open again. But there was one question that came up in the comments in the chat about your new book, Amy. I hope that you don't mind, Paul, that we talk about Amy's new book since it is release week.
Yes.
Could you tell us just in the last few minutes of our session here about your new book, Switch, because they do see your Wheel of Emotions behind you there.
Yeah, Switch came out on Tuesday, and I've been doing. Actually, you guys need to like either follow me or check things out, because the next week is going to be pretty damn interesting when it comes to who I'm talking to on this tour. Last week was as well. Some of those events were recorded, but Switch is really still hard for me to explain. But it's about main character's name is Truda Becker. She throws a javelin extraordinarily. In a way that no one has before, and the reason is because she has freed herself from the ideas, bullying, kind of in a way, interfamily bullying, the ideas that she's been fed since she was a young person, that she wasn't allowed to be proud of herself. In many ways, and it's also about time stopping, and it's also about Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions. He's a 20th century American psychologist. It's about a bunch of different psychologists, but I do concentrate a lot on the Wheel of Emotions. And I will type into the box. I invented a clock about 2.5 years ago, or 3 years ago now, in my brain for a speech I did in Kansas. There you go. And don't forget, that's not an E, it's a 3. If you put the 3 in, you'll find the right thing. If you put the E in, you will not. But it's called newclock.com, although, like I said, the E is a 3. But it's how to, the idea is that it's a tool to maybe help young people and old people interview their emotions and get to know themselves better. That's not what the book's about. The book's about somebody who's a kid who's finally proud of herself. And I think it kind of reflects me a little bit, you guys. I think the idea that, you know, you can understand that winning a Michael L. Prince Award is an enormous thing, and that my feelings were not available to me when that happened due to my grief, due to my situation, due to a lot of things. But more importantly, I wasn't allowed to be proud. And so now I am, and I'm slowly becoming proud. And it's kind of a cool thing. And if you look at the cover, it's great because it's the house that writes itself. You know, it finally goes back to, and I have this sculpture. This is a real sculpture, and I bought it from the artist, and it's in my living room right now, and it's lit up 24 hours a day. So I don't know how to explain what the book's about. I could probably read the inside cover, and it would give you a far better idea. But if you're interested, go to the website, and you can read the description of what really goes on in the book. I write surrealism, so I always have trouble describing my book, but yeah, it was a beautiful thing to write. It was the first book I've written since my life changed completely. And I'm proud that I was even able to do that. But now I'm on fire, and I'm going to write like a lot more books. So it's kind of cool. But thank you for giving me the opportunity to pitch that, which I never do, clearly, because I suck at it.
That was great. That was great, Amy. Also, in the comments, someone said you should be proud because you are a effing badass, awesome human, and I have to second that for sure. So I want to thank Amy and Paul again for joining us this afternoon. Just a reminder that you can still go and shop for some TBF merch after this session ends. There is a closing session that I believe was pre-recorded that you can also view after this session. Look forward to TBF next year. Hopefully it will be in person, because even though this is an amazing experience, it's so much better to be in the room with these authors. So yeah, did you want to say anything else, Michelle?
I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the committee. Thank you to the volunteers and all of our attendees, and especially our authors. It's really great. Another wonderful session. We could listen to you for hours.
I want to just say thank you to Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Ames. You're amazing.
You're amazing, brother. I love you.
I love you.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much.
Pamela.
Go watch that closing session. It's awesome.
Okay.
See ya.
Can't wait. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.